Nigel, how did you become involved in La Casa di Signori?
It was a phone call from the director of Salamanca Art Centre, Rosemary Miller, in fact, who pulled me in at really quite short notice on this one, with this invitation to direct and to co-create a work with Marissa Mastrocola, based around development work which he'd done over many years, on remembrances, stories about her family and her experiences of travelling back to her family's village in Italy, San Domenico, and stories of her family and also of the villagers, and to try and create a feeling for this village, an experience of this village, and also to reflect the feelings that Marissa had as an Australian-born Italian.
As a director working with Marissa, what's been your approach?
First of all, it was to actually create some kind of structure behind all these stories. A lot of these stories arrived in a format which were almost like journal entries, diary entries that had been written over many, many years. So the first process was also the fact that I was working in Sydney and not working here with Marissa in Hobart. It was done by the wonders of email, basically, and was to create some kind of theatrical structure, something that could, in a way, have a beginning, middle and end. In a way, almost like a play does, but this is not a play. This is a it's a monologue, it's a reminiscence, and from the areas that I come from, which is very much physical-based theatre, in dance, but also in music, to try and create some kind of musical shape using folk music from Italy, but also Marissa asked me to think about including an area of my specialty, which is opera music as well, and referencing that kind of rich sort of culture of Italy.
Over the years, Nigel, you've worked with large ensemble groups, but you've also directed solo performances. Perhaps you could tell us a little about the difference.
Yeah, solo performances are very interesting because they focus very much on, the person on stage rather than large theatrical structures. I've had myself, as a performer, made several solo performances myself, and this is an opportunity for me to actually look at my technique as a performer, the focus on a single body on stage. And I've made about 5 solo works myself over the last 25, 30 years. But also, probably because of that, I've been invited by many people to direct their solo performances. I've worked with, I would say, 6 or 7 performers. Most of them, actually, interestingly, have been women. And I find that interesting. In a way, I suppose I have to sort of drag out the best of my feminist credentials on these kind of works. And I suppose I'm very interested in the woman's body on stage. And I've worked with in a lot of different genres. Some of them, this work is very word-based, it's very story-based. I've also worked with a lot of dancers on their solo works. And for me, it's about that focusing in on the single body, more so than the large structure. I think the audience look at solo performances very differently than they do to large ensemble works.
And why is that?
The focus. There's one person to look at. They're tricky things to light, for instance, because you've got a stage, but we know that the audience is going to be looking at this body. They're going to follow that body everywhere. They're going to follow that single person's thought processes. You take them from the first moment and take them on this single road. There is very little to distract from that. which is very different, where the audience is invited to look at one person, then another, then another, then an ensemble, and so on. It's a far more concentrated, kind of reflective process for the audience and in the process of making the work as well.